Sisterhood podcast. We are your hosts, Maddie and Kate, and we are here to chat about all things motherhood, faith-infused entrepreneurship, and lots of real life.
We want you to leave feeling loved, encouraged, and a whole bunch of excitement for where the Lord has you right in this moment. We are so glad you are here.
So grab your coffee, matcha, tea, whatever makes you happy, and let's hang out and indulge in some joyful conversations.
Welcome back to the Refined Sisterhood podcast. We are Maddie and Kate, and we're so glad that you're here. This topic today, I'm pumped about, and I know I say that in like probably every single one, but for real, I love this topic because it's not talked about a lot, and I really feel like there is a need for people to talk about it so you don't feel alone. So today, we are going to talk about marriage and motherhood and just what that looks like. It's going to be juicy and I can't wait.
Yes.
Let's
hope our husbands are okay with us talking about it.
We should have probably told them, but it's totally fine.
They'll be fine.
We're going to get real and raw with you over here on this episode. And we're just going to talk about what marriage looks like pre-baby, what it looks like, postpartum in this first few weeks. And then now being almost 7 months in and 4 months in, like what that feels like, what it looks like. And yeah, we're just going to dive right in because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a long one. So just be prepared.
Yes, but it's a good one. So stay around for sure.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about marriage pre-baby. The good old days before the baby. Bless our hearts. Marriage pre-baby. It was so good. And marriage is good now too. But like marriage as a whole is just such a big, big, big blessing. And I'm so thankful for my husband and everything that we've gone through. But specifically me and Hunter, we were together for 5 years before we even got married. We have spent a lot of time together. We've been together like 7.5 years now.
I feel like you just sort of lose count.
Yeah. It's been a lot. But we've been married for 2.5 years. But before Beckett was born, it was like a little over 2 years. And those 2 years were so special. We spent a lot of time, just us, like I said, 7.5 years. But when we got married, things just got a lot more, I don't know, you get lovey-dovey and like you get to do things together and live together and cook together. You learn a lot about each other that like you didn't even know before. Yes. And it was just really special. We kind of got into a routine of it just being us, and every day, like with our jobs, we knew when we get home, like we're going to hang out on the couch. And we had a lot of free time that I didn't realize that we had because we'd never had kids before. Yes. And we would spend that free time sometimes like really like just talking and hanging out. And then other times we would literally scroll our phones for an entire night because we were exhausted. And honestly, at this point, I can't remember everything we did because you kind of lose sight of things once you have a baby. But those 2 years were so, 2 years. Those 2 years were so incredibly special. And we kind of, it was easy to be selfish during that time. Like you get married and you have to be a little less selfish. Like you have to put each other first. But in that season, it's like you think you're selfless, but not really.
Yeah. Once you have a baby, you're like, whoa, I was really selfish.
Yeah, for sure. And so having a baby kind of changed all of that. And it changed our perspective on our marriage before that. And so that's kind of how both of us were. I mean, that's what both of our marriages looked like before. I think Maddie and Shawn, you are married for 3 years before Keegan.
Yeah. Well, yep. We're going, it'll be 4 years in March. Oh my gosh. So insane. But like Caitlin, like it's literally crazy to think about how, what pre-baby, looked like, pre-baby marriage looked like compared to now. Like, so different. But like Caitlin said, our marriages were, if you know Caitlin and I personally, we're a lot alike, and our husbands are a lot alike, and so our marriages looked very, very similar. They still do.
Yeah, and, they definitely
do. Anyways, now like moving forward, what it looks like now being married with baby is so different, you know?
Yes, so different. Like, I didn't even know. That was one of those things I will say, before I had a baby, I remember laying in the bed with Hunter so many nights and crying because I was like, it's not just going to be us anymore. Like, I don't know what this is going to be like. Like, what if I always had like this fear in the back of my head of like, what if we're not the same? Like, what if we don't love each other the same?
Yeah.
Or what if we don't like get as much time together? And like, that was a big fear.
Yeah.
And so that before having a baby, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so different. I'm like, I didn't know if I was going to love it or if it was going to be like just as special as just the two of us. And so once we like had a baby, it all changed, but it all changed for the better. 100%.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have so much to talk about when it comes to that. The first few weeks of like, you know, postpartum, and hold on, let me actually say something about what you said about there was a lot of insecurity walking into that. Like, are we going to have all this time or we're not going to have as much time together as we used to? And that is true.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's different. You know, you're not sitting there being like, oh, wow, I'm sad because we don't get to spend like all this time that we used to together.
Yeah.
It's different. And I think that's just like a heart change that happens. But now, I mean, now that I walk through like the postpartum part of marriage and yikes, that, and still now, I mean, we're still learning. And I remember those first few weeks, like coming home from the hospital, and we had no idea what we were doing. Like, we're YouTubing how to swaddle a baby. Like, we just had no idea, but we were on the same team and we knew that. And that's how we parented at that time. And we still to this day, but we knew that we had to be in it as a team. We could not try to do it separately. We also couldn't try to be like, oh, well, I did all this today. Like, you better do all this tomorrow. Like, I learned very, very quickly, like, Maddie, if you keep tabs, it's not going to do anything good for your marriage. Like, you do what you can do. And he knows that he does what he can do. And we work as a team. We're not one's in front of the other. No, we are side by side. And that's how we do it. And I told myself I will not keep tabs at all. But at the very beginning, I remember you're exhausted as crap. Like, you literally come home from the hospital and you're like, what just happened?
Yes.
And you're so tired and like you're seeing all these people and you're staying up all night because you have a newborn and like feeding every 3 hours. And oh my goodness, so many things. And you're exhausted. And you know, when exhaustion sets in,
you get angry.
Yes, it's so much easier to snap. And like going back to those moments, I remember there were times where I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what have we done? Like, I love our child, but like, what have we done? We are losing our minds.
Yeah, there's so many times, specifically in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Literally, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're both brand new at this. Like, you are both figuring out, like, you're finding yourself out as a parent. You're realizing, like, you're trying to learn who the other person is as a parent.
Yes.
And like how you can work together and all that stuff. And I remember there were times at night, I swear, me and Hunter literally could have like thrown each other against a wall because we were so exhausted and we were learning together. But it was just hard because in the middle of the night, you can say some mean things.
Yeah.
And we were both guilty, like, for sure. And it was just hard because one of us would be irritated and the other one would take offense to like what that one said. And then we would wake up the next morning and be irritated. And then we wouldn't like talk about it until later. And it just felt like a constant battle of like, we're always irritated with each other.
Yeah. Like a cycle. And there is a book, I think it's called The Crazy Cycle. I don't know. I'll look it up and we'll put it, I guess, in the show notes somewhere where you can look at it. But it talks about this where it's so easy to get in this cycle of not feeling loved, but not being appreciated. And you're just constantly in this cycle. And until someone breaks it, you're just going to keep going in the cycle. And it is true. When you're up at night and you're just like, okay, you can say, like Kaylin said, you can say some mean things. Mm-hmm. And there's been moments where I'm just like, bite the tongue. And I know Shawn has said the same thing, like, bite the tongue. So it's just different. But there is a lot of beauty in it. I know in the first few weeks, like bringing Keegan home, something that's really, really not talked about, which made me think I was absolutely crazy, was and it's not for everyone does not go through this, but I know at the very beginning, I remember just missing like the two of us, and remember being like, okay, my life is so different and I love it. I love what it looks like, but I miss Shawn. Even though I was with Shawn for 3 weeks before he went back to work,
Yep.
I missed him. And it was the most time we had spent together in a long time because he was off work for 3 weeks. But I missed him. And I remember we had like family over here, and I went and laid in the bed, and I remember texting him, and he was in the living room with like my family or something. And I was just like, I need you to come in here. And he came in there and he was like, what's up? What's going on? And I said, like, I just need you to lay here and like be with me. And I cried. I mean, those first few weeks, you know, like you cry a lot. Your body's changing. You have a lot of hormonal changes. But I knew I yearned for that time with Shawn, and I missed it, what it looked like before. But then I got to start seeing Shawn, you know, learn how to be a parent, and he got to start seeing me learn how to be a parent. And that was beautiful. That's been a dream of mine to be a mom, but also I know it's been a dream of Shawn's to be a dad, and to watch him walk in that and just step right into being a father has been beautiful, and watching him learn. And I think in our heads, we expect like each other to just know what to do instantly and for it to just be perfect.
Yep.
But we are humans, and we fail a lot of times, and our flesh shows itself a lot of times where it's not the most, you know, we fight and it's okay, and we're selfish sometimes. And one thing I always talk about that in now having a baby, it has shown some of the ugliest sides of Shawn and I. And it's really shown our selfish parts of each other, which has been a good thing because I guess we've been able to tackle that. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of change that happens, but it all is super, super beautiful. But I know it's hard and it looks different. And I thought for a while I was literally insane. I was losing my mind because I felt this way. But then, and I know Shawn felt the same way. But then I started talking to people that do have kids and have gone through postpartum, and they're like, me and my husband felt the same way. Like, we literally were like, what in the world has happened to us, you know?
Yeah. And I think, me and Hunter had a very similar experience. And I think part of what you're talking about is that season at the beginning, you literally feel like it's never going to end. And when you're missing that like pre-baby marriage kind of thing, you literally feel like the newborn stage is never going to end, where you're just purely exhausted and you're just irritable, and you're literally going through like postpartum like healing and all of that stuff. So you're just not at all the same person, and neither is your husband, because for obvious reasons, like he now has a child to take care of, and the two of you together, it genuinely feels like you're never gonna get there back to like where you were, or even to a good place. Yeah. And so moving forward from that and finally being in a season where we've kind of like combated that and we've like come out of that, marriage feels a little like it did before, but it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit more normal for sure. You know, if we're comfortable, you know, dropping our child off and being, you know, with his grandparents or a babysitter and like going and doing things, or we've gotten more into a routine of knowing that when he goes down for bed, like we can spend time with each other, and we're not, I mean, we're exhausted still because we have a 6-month-old, but like, we are not as exhausted as we were in those moments. I look back on pictures from like when I came home from the hospital, and the pure exhaustion that's on our face. I was like, my eyes are like barely open.
Oh my God. My eyes had like I had raccoon eyes. Like I've always seen these people with like bags under their eyes and like having dark circles. And I'm like, oh, I'm never going to have that. 3 weeks into having a baby, I would wake up, or I would be up all night and look in the mirror and be like, I'm dead. Like I look dead.
Yes. And I think you said something about how you feel like it never was going to end. I remember. Yeah. I remember one specific time, has nothing to do with Shawn, but I just remember I was, you know, I birthed a child. So there was, you know, a situation down under, and I was like, this is never going to heal. I'm never going to be back to my normal self. Mine and Shawn's marriage is never going to even be close to the same.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to now love another human. Like, and something that I did not expect was how much I loved Keegan. And I knew I would love him, obviously. And I knew what unconditional love looks like because I love my husband. But how
different.
it is, like, how much I loved Keegan, it hurt. Like, and it still does. And if you're a mom, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I remember just looking at him and being like, how do I love anything deeper than this child? Like, so much. And I remember Shawn, he tells me often, he's like, you're supposed to love me more than Keegan. And I'm like, I do. It's different. I love you guys equally. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. I love you both just differently, I would say. Yeah. Like, loving my marriage is different, but then loving my kid, I don't know.
It is. It's very different. But you learn to love your spouse differently and you learn new things about them.
Exactly. For sure. I agree.
So moving into how I've learned new things about Hunter and how we've changed into different people in a good way, and the way that we work together as parents, and just seeing him as a parent, there's so many things I didn't expect from him. And even though, like we said, the beginning season was hard, now that I'm 4 months in, or over 4 months in, it's so awesome to watch Hunter do what he does. And even at the beginning, I didn't realize how selfless he could be. And, you go into labor with an expectation of okay, yes, my husband's going to help me through this and he's going to do all these things. But do you really, I don't know. There was just so much to do. And when I got home, it was I still wanted to do those things. I wanted to do the laundry and I wanted to wash the bottles. It's just one of those things where we just want to have control of everything. But there are so many times when he would get up in the middle of the night and just be like, Caitlin, please sleep. Or he would take control and clean the house or clean the bottles and even help me pump. There's just those little things at the beginning that I started to see him as a parent. It was just super cool. But at the same time, the way that he loved me after having Beckett was a whole other thing. And our marriage has evolved into this we love Beckett together so much, and that makes us love each other more. And so it's just one of those things where you look at your husband and you're like, God, he is the father of my child and he does such a good job at loving him and everything. But on top of that, it's the little things that Hunter does for me. I can't even pinpoint one because it's literally the little things. Yeah. Just doing those itty bitty things. He would know, okay, she's not feeling good today. I'm going to bring her something home from work. And he would love me in a way that I didn't realize that I would appreciate so much and that I would love so much.
Yeah. I think that it's funny because they probably I can't speak for you and Hunter, but it's things that Shawn has done all along, not necessarily cleaning bottles, but just little things he's done all along that, because, I had some selfish ways about my personality and just things of how I was in our marriage at the time. I didn't see how much it meant to me. But now knowing that we have to be incredibly selfless and watching him go above and beyond and doing things for me it speaks so much more volume. And like Caitlin said, it is one of first off, having a baby is such a blessing. And I feel like you can't deny that, that is just from the Lord and that he gives you this just amazing little blessing. But I also think how beautiful it is that the Lord allows us to watch our husband. I feel like when you have a baby, it's twofold. You get to watch yourself have this little baby to just love so deeply, but then you also get to watch your husband become a father, and it is beautiful. I told Shawn he's never looked hotter being a dad, and in the hospital I was like, you just have never been hotter. You watching you be a dad is literally the best thing ever. And just I don't know, watching him be so selfless and I don't know, marriage has changed, and But it is for the better. And I love getting to watch, Hunter be a dad. I love getting to watch Shawn be a dad. I love getting to watch them be dads together. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I would say another thing that we haven't talked about, but we definitely appreciate being married is the postpartum body. That's a whole situation. And for everyone, it looks different. Some people quote bounce back, even though I don't really like that term.
Mm-hmm.
You're not meant to bounce back. You are now a mom. You have new hips. You are wider. You are you have a whole different body. But that aside, just the little things, like some people get stretch marks. Some people have C-section scars. Some people, I don't know what the area down there looks like because I had a C-section.
I don't either.
But just like things like that. And like, you hold more physical fat when you're pregnant and like so that you can carry the baby and just little things like that. And the fact that like Hunter specifically, and I know Shawn's this way, the fact that they don't have this expectation on us to to look a certain way, and that they know, like they can look at us and be like, you look sexy and you have stretch marks or whatever. Like Hunter literally, I know I have stretch marks. You don't, do you?
I don't. I have them on my boobs, but
but I have stretch marks on my stomach from those last 2 weeks. And Hunter literally will look at those and be like, Caitlin, I love those about you. And I'm like, you know what? I love them about me too. Yeah. And just knowing that they don't have an expectation for us to look a certain way and that they love us just the way that we are post baby body, like that has been a huge thing in our marriage, that if they didn't do that, that would change a lot.
I feel like it would put so much expectation and pressure on us to, like you said, bounce back. And the thing is, it's so easy to get in that headspace of like, oh my gosh, I'm 6 months in and I haven't bounced back,
or I haven't picked up a weight or walked a mile in a few weeks.
Exactly. And there's so much pressure, but both of our husbands give us so much freedom to just, you're a mom and you're going to look different. And I don't expect you to look like you did before you got pregnant. And it's you still look so beautiful. Shawn still thinks I'm hot and I love it. And I care less what I look like. And so it also has allowed me to just like love myself more because I don't have that pressure on me. But I do want to encourage people because I know this is not always the case. So I know that sometimes you do have that pressure put on you. Or maybe you don't have like a husband that just has loved you well through this season of life. And one thing I do want to encourage you is a lot of times, society focuses on the mom. And I do think they should focus on the mom a lot. We go through a lot.
Yes.
But one thing I think that is so left out is how the dad is just expected to change and expected to, like, there's this huge pressure put on them that is not talked about at all of like, okay, yep, you were set in your ways. Guess what? You're a dad now, and everything you did beforehand out the window. And that is we already looked at like that. But the guys, they are not talked about at all. And so, and their identity is somewhat changing. The way that they love is changing.
And they don't get the mama instinct.
No.
That's not a thing that kicks in for dads. Like, it's something, they have to choose it. And so...
Yeah, I completely agree. And so that's just something that's like not talked about. So I want to encourage you if, you're in a season of your marriage that just doesn't look like what you expected, or your husband is not present, or you're a single mom, or you're just feeling a way of pressure to like bounce back. I want you to encourage you that where you're at right now is beautiful. And
absolutely,
you do not need pressure to get back to a certain size right now. You carried a baby for 9 months.
Oh,
your body changed for 9 months. It's still changing. And then your body birthed a human being.
It literally created a life.
Exactly.
Like a whole human.
Mic drop. Like, how does that even happen? Like, without us really doing anything, your body did that. And then you birth a baby, whether it's vaginally or by C-section. You birthed a human being.
Go freaking you.
Yes, exactly. And you deserve the freedom to just soak in that and know that you did something so glorifying. And you had a baby. Like, you have the freedom to give yourself space to heal, to even if you are a year in or longer, it don't matter. You have the space to heal mentally, physically, all the things. If your marriage is not where it's supposed to be, I encourage you to just pray about it. Find someone that can just walk through this season of life with you. And if those people that you believe is us, we love that. And we would love to walk through this season of life with you. If our single mom, go you. Like,
oh yeah,
go you. I remember in the hospital, Shawn specifically said, I have so much respect for single moms, and you are literally killing it. I don't know how you do it, but you do it, and you do it so perfect and beautifully, and just hats off to you guys. So whatever season you're in, I just want to encourage you that give yourself the freedom to like have this space of, I'm going to heal mentally, physically, spiritually, and there's no pressure put on me or my marriage, and we're going to learn together. You know?
Yes. Being a mom is such a gift, and you just have to remember, like, you were given this gift, and all you have to do is love him or her and love yourself, and that's what matters. You just have to show love in every area, including your body. And moving from that, some ways that we've deepened our marriage, and like just set it on fire again. I know that a lot of you may have had a baby recently, and you might be working toward this, and you're like, okay, so I'm in that little spot of like, it's newborn life, and I feel like we're never going to get out of this. We're never going to stop being irritated. We're still learning like what the heck we're doing. It's coming, but we have some tangible ways that we've learned to deepen our marriage. And so basically early on, the best thing that we learned to do is together we love and we serve. We serve and we love Beckett, and we love and we serve each other first. And that's when you have to swallow your pride. You take that selfishness that you could be a little selfish in pre-baby marriage, and you throw it out the window. We are done with that. No more. There is no room for selfishness when it comes to post-baby, postpartum marriage.
Oh, for sure. Completely agree. You have got to drop your selfish desires, because if you cling tight to them, it's going to be so much more difficult to just walk through that season of postpartum, and even later on when they're 6, 7, 8 months old. One thing that Shawn and I learned early on that was tangible for us was that we wanted, one of the best things that we could do for Keegan is give him a healthy marriage. Watch him see our healthy marriage. And I'm not going to sit here and say we don't argue, because that would be a dang lie. We're human. We argue, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, we want him to see what a beautiful marriage looks like, because one day he is going to be someone's husband, and we want him to know how to treat a woman. We want him to know how to just love people well. And that comes from, watching Shawn and I firsthand. But also, like, one thing, instead of, it's so easy that when you finally don't have the baby, as in like when he goes to bed, he or she goes to bed, or, when they're at the babysitter, it's so easy to just be like, I'm going to get on my phone and I'm going to sit here and do my own thing. And we do that.
There is a time for that also.
Yeah, for sure. There is times where I'm like, I need my own time and you need your own time, and that's okay. But it's so important to communicate, and guys are not the best at communication. Not gonna lie. Us girls, as you can tell by Caitlin and I, we love to talk, and we can talk all day long.
Yes.
And for guys, that's not the case. So just sitting down and like being honest. I always say I don't have expectations of Shawn, because I know he can't read my mind. And I don't want him to read my mind.
No, we don't need that.
No, but I always say that I want to drop all expectations, and I want to just communicate how I'm feeling. So there's times where I'm like, Shawn, I'm telling you this because I know you don't know how to read my mind. And I want you to know that I have this expectation that needs to be met. And I'm telling you because if it's not met, I know I'm going to be upset and it's going to cause an argument.
Yep.
And that's not because I think less of Shawn, or I don't think that he would even think of those things. It's not that. But just by communicating to him how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, and he does ask me those things, but deeper, like if I'm like, okay, tomorrow I need Shawn to do this, and in my head I'm expecting it, but if I don't say it out loud, he's not going to know because he doesn't think like me. But if he doesn't do it, I'm literally going to be so mad. And so I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and before an argument happens, this is my expectation. And just having that open line of communication has helped so much in navigating what becoming parents looks like, and just it within our marriage.
Yes, so true. Communication. Oh, it's so important. And another thing, and this needs to be your first priority, your marriage needs to be first after the Lord. And that means the baby does not come before your husband. The baby does not come before your marriage. You love your husband first. The Lord blessed you with your husband and is in covenant with the two of you. And he blessed you with that baby. So you need to prioritize your husband right after the Lord. And I think that there are some tangible ways that you can do this, but also like you can bring some of that pre-baby marriage into postpartum marriage. And I know something for me and Hunter is date night. Before we gave birth, before I gave birth, we went on a date night every single Friday night, give or take if there was something that came up. But we made sure that about a month in, we started going back on our date nights. And we made sure that those were the times when we communicated. We talked about deep things. We spent time learning like how we're feeling about each other. And like we prioritized our marriage. And date night is so important. And I highly recommend going and having a date night with your husband, whether it's in or out, whatever you need that week. Yeah. Like doing it once a week, that is so good for our marriage. And it keeps us from like putting Beckett first or putting even other things before each other.
Right. And it allows you to know that like your identity is not in Beckett or my identity is not in Keegan. My identity is not in my marriage, but my identity is in the Lord, and Shawn's identity is in the Lord. And that in its of itself allows us to just, have those good conversations and know that those other things we can step away from and just have one-on-one time so we can make our marriage be the best version that it can be for Keegan and like for you and Hunter, for Beckett. So.
Right. Exactly. And lastly, this kind of goes along with all of it. Be intentional in your marriage. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride. And if your husband is not, if you have this expectation for him and maybe you haven't voiced that to him, like Maddie said, and he's not meeting those, swallow your pride and don't get mad at him. Don't do those things. Instead, write him a note. Tell him all the great things he's doing as a dad. There are so many things that you can do for your husband to be intentional in your marriage so that it continues to thrive. It's not just his job to pursue you. Y'all pursue each other together as you pursue Jesus. And so it's really important to be intentional.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So for men, the way they feel loved is by being respected, and the way we just need like attention and love, And if we are not, respecting our husband, and instead of, it's so easy, like when you're exhausted and if you keep tabs and if you're a stay-at-home mom, because you feel like you do a lot of it by yourself, it's so easy to, just say mean things and be like, oh, well, you didn't do blah, 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 blah. And instead of doing that, call out the good things. And I say this not because Caitlin and I do this perfectly, but because I have seen that when instead of reacting and being mad and just calling out how terrible of a job he's doing, because I could be doing the same thing for like as a parent myself, but stepping back and saying, Shawn, you're doing this really good. Like I'm proud of you and you're a great dad, but I want to talk about this thing. And I've learned that just doing it like that shows them that I respect them and I don't think less of them. Yeah. It just shows that I know that you're the man of our household and I want to honor you and respect you, but I'm also going to hold you accountable and I want you to grow. And the only way, if you can't see it, I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to do it in the most honoring way possible. But just respecting your husband, and it's going to go so much further than if you just snap at them.
Yes, exactly. Totally agree with all of that. I really hope that as we talked about our marriage before having a baby and now our marriage, or I guess that little newborn season of it being really tough and like where we're at now, I really hope it encouraged you, whether you are thinking about having a baby or you are pregnant or you're in that newborn season, or if you're coming out of it and you're still trying to figure out how to really get your marriage back on track. I really hope we could encourage you. And just know we are not perfect. We are not perfect at this, and we have our moments. And we just really, truly believe that marriage is so important. And it's like
so
you
sacred.
said, like you said, it's the way that we show our child like what it looks like to love someone. And that's so important. And we're just so thankful that you're here to listen, and that we hope that we encouraged you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you want to talk further about this, please DM us on Instagram, email us. We would love to talk more with you about this. So.
Yes, for sure. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye
guys. We had so much fun getting to hang out with you today, and we hope that you are feeling encouraged, loved, and full of purpose.
If you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, we would absolutely love it if you would write us a review so that we can hear how we encouraged you. And if you haven't subscribed, go do that right now. Also, you can join the sisterhood by finding us on Instagram at The Refined Sisterhood.
Okay, friend, we hope you have the best week, and we will see you in the next episode.